Hi Paul, lovely to meet up with you and start doing some work on your game. Just a quick recap on the key points that we covered during your session. It was as much a fact-finding mission for myself as anything else. I enjoyed the changes that we made. I think you get the system, you sort of, after the chat we had, you get how the system works and how it can apply to your golf. It's not about hitting every shot perfectly. It's about being able to look at your swing and understand the components and organise the pieces so that you can make the changes you want to make. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there, as you've experienced yourself, who are trying really hard to make changes in the swing. They see certain things happening that they're uncomfortable with, but unfortunately are going about it the wrong way. And this results just in hours and hours of frustration out on the practice range, not being able to change the picture, or changing the picture but then the swing won't function, etc, etc. So the idea is to be able to use the system to make the changes that you want to improve your understanding of how the swing works. So the swing on the left was at the start of the session, first swing I filmed. I like your setup. I think you could potentially go just a little bit more weight on the lead leg, but generally speaking you make a pretty good linear move at it during the downswing. I will be maybe looking at 55-45 in favour of the lead leg. Maybe at a push, move it 60-40 in favour of the lead leg. But you certainly don't need a more exaggerated position than that, which some players would, depending on their ability to move linear during the downswing. So 60-40, 55-45 in favour of the lead leg is fine. During the backswing, the main thing we're talking about here the other day was keeping the head in the box. You can see the head lifts slightly and goes forward slightly. You talked a lot about trying to work the left shoulder down, get the tilt in there. So does the left shoulder need to work downwards and across? Yes, it does. And whilst left shoulder down or shoulder down is part of the template, that's just the general look of the movement. Sometimes just thinking about that is enough. You'll experience that during the work that you do. We may talk about a general look and just the idea of it kicks it off and you get it fine. Sometimes that's not the case, as in this instance, and you need a little bit more detail added to it. So the head comes up and the head comes towards the target ever so slightly. And even though we're trying to work the left shoulder down, you can see that the left shoulder, sort of centre of the left shoulder is now here. It's sort of levelled out a little bit, and this left knee has kinked in. And it's the breaking down and the isolating of the pieces really that's going to allow you to improve this. The swing on the right is you rehearsing the move that I'd like you to make. And the only advice that you were given here was to turn the hips as much as possible during the backswing. I'm just going to play this to the top. Just going to put the box around the head quickly. So the only advice is to work the hips or turn the hips as much as possible from P1 to P4. I'm going to take you all the way to the top and then we're going to have a little look at the differences. You can see during that move, the left shoulder works down for much longer. So the general trajectory of the left shoulder now is down. You can see that the head has not been pushed up, hasn't gone towards the target. The main difference here is in order to turn the hips more, so in order to increase the turning of the hips, you have to work the knees differently. Now the knees provide a linkage during the swing, so in order to turn the hips more, the trail leg's got to straighten more. And in order to keep your inclination to the ground as you're extending and turning more, you've got to put more left tilt in to stay to the ground, so this left knee, whilst it comes in, also flexes forward. Now I haven't told you to do any of that. These are just observations based on you increasing your hip turn. But the knees are a tremendous assistance in turning on a tilted angle with a consistent inclination to the ground. So the way the knees work, the trail leg is straightening and the lead leg is flexing. Will the lead leg come in slightly? Yes. The amount it comes in will depend on the amount of hip turn you need to propel the butt of the club far enough to get the job done. And that'll change from club to club, and it'll look different from player to player. But that's the main factor in improving your golf swing there, and the overall look of the swing, where you look much more stacked on top of it and the head hasn't lifted, is the way that your knees work. You've held onto some flex here, and when you hold onto some flex, unless you've got a tremendous amount of internal rotation in that right hip, your hips are going to turn level. They will have a limited capacity to turn. And two things will happen: either they'll move out this way and sway to the right, or in your case, the head starts to pop up because the turning and the left tilting is not offsetting the extension. So that's the changes that we made from face on. Really nice changes. I like the position you're in there at the top on the right hand side. And then we talked a little bit about the effects that, or things that you may experience from down the line, which we'll come to now. Okay, Paul, from down the line we talked about what we're trying to do initially. We put the grid down on the map for you, and we talked about what we're trying to do in golf. We're trying to hit the ball down the target line. In order to hit the ball down a line, because we're stood to the side of the golf ball, we swing in an arc. And our goal is to try and hit the golf ball before the low point of the arc. Now, that being the case, that means that the golf club, as it traces this arc, should never hit the target line until low point. So the club is coming from the inside continuously, and it's only going to hit that target line at low point of tendency. So anytime a club gets on this target line too soon, we've effectively come over the top of it. Now, if you consider here where the club's coming in from versus here, we're controlling the swing direction. This is what you're seeing on camera. On the left-hand swing, the arms have been lifted to the top because of the maintenance of that right knee flex and the stuff that we looked at from face on. Then as you start down, there's too much turning too soon. That's pulling the arms out. That's pulling the club out. Here we've got the bar down on the floor to sort of control the delivery of the sweet spot and start to control the rate at which the body unwinds and the rate at which the arms get pulled out. You can see now the shaft starting to hit you sort of more towards the mid-right bicep, which is a checkpoint used in the book, as opposed to the right shoulder. So we're starting to see some shallowing out of the shaft in transition. Whenever we turn, we create an outward force. Too much outward force is going to create a sweet spot that's moving too much out in front of the hands at P6, too much onto the target line at P6.5, and then too much across the golf ball through the hit. You can see how the butt of the club moves across the body much quicker on the left hand image than it does on the right hand image. Now, post impact, there are a number of things that we may need to discuss. And I say may because sometimes when you change the backswing and you change the sort of the concept of what you're trying to do in the downswing, this stuff changes anyway. And it may be that next session we just talk about the differences between your current swing and this swing, which will be great because it'll be a really enjoyable session and really easy for us both. Although we might have to talk about how to implement some more changes and how to tidy that move up. That, you know, we'll only know that in 3 or 4 weeks' time when we get together next. So, great session, changing the direction of the swing, changing your overall understanding of what you're trying to do in regards to the grid, why the draw's built in, etc. And more importantly, changing your understanding of how to actually create that centered turn that you're that you desire in order to play more consistent golf. Good luck with it. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop me a line. I look forward to getting together in early May to do some further work. Well done.